Have you ever wondered about this whole thing about acceptance, self-compassion, self-love? Well, what is self-acceptance if not thinking about yourself? Because when you aren't thinking about yourself, you are who you are. There's no image of how you should be and comparing that to who you are and all that stuff. So then non-acceptance is thinking about myself and judging myself. So when I'm not accepting myself, if I have a thought that I don't like, let's say I have a thought about punching someone in the face and I think, oh, I shouldn't have that thought. That's me not accepting something that's a part of me because it was a thought that emerged within me. Now you could argue that we don't have any control over the initial thoughts we have, and sure, but there's also the point of it doesn't matter what thoughts come in, because if you resist a thought, you could say non-acceptance, and that creates tension. Because you have an idea of how you think you should be, which comes from the outside world, because everything we've learned, we've taken in, and that is now who you are. So language, concepts, ideas, good and bad, you know this because when you look at people from different cultures, different countries, different planets, you know they see things differently because they think about those things differently. So why do we not accept ourselves? Well, habit, and like I mentioned, culture, and then not really understanding that our experience is created from within us. So we have a thought we don't like, or an experience we don't like, or a body we don't like, and we compare it to something else, and we don't like what we see. So then we start making meaning about this. We say, okay, I should be better. I can't accept myself because if I accept myself, I won't be better. But how does change happen? Change doesn't happen from whipping yourself into change. In a way, we can't force change. It has to happen. And it happens naturally. Now, it may happen when you're doing something, and then you attribute that to that something, like doing a technique or meditating. But when we are quiet and relaxed, solutions seem to come from somewhere, from our brain. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, doesn't really matter, but change seems to just happen. And it's not always the change we want, because we have ideas about how life should be and how we should be living. We have a plan for our lives, but if you've noticed, life has a tendency to just do its thing, and your body is a part of life. So life is just living you, and you can resist that, you cannot accept that, but that's just going to lead to more pain, more resistance. So the way I live is I am simply who I am. I'm not perfect as a writer, as a dad, as a friend, and so on. And that's okay with me. I'm doing what I can. I'm human. I have good qualities, I have bad qualities. I have strengths, I have weaknesses in the world I live in the community I live in. Those strengths may be weaknesses somewhere else. And we all have both sides. We all experience both positive and negative emotions. So there's a myth that you can achieve perfection, but then you might say, well, aiming for perfection is good because we grow. Well, sure, but if you're whipping yourself and berating yourself for not being perfect, you're stifling your own growth, because all that berating and whipping leads to resistance, negative thoughts, which again lead to negative behaviors, demotivation, feeling hopeless, meaningless, because you're destroying your own joy of simply living life and enjoying life. So how do you accept yourself? Well, you stop listening to your thoughts. You stop taking them so seriously. And now that's easier said than done. And I'm simply sharing my experience. You could say the end result of everything I've done. And I've tried so many different techniques, read hundreds of books, taken courses, and I see how nothing really works long term. There's something within me that changes when it's time to change. And I don't have to accept myself, because as I mentioned in the beginning, acceptance for me is simply being who I am. I don't have to think about myself. I don't have to be perfect or try to be perfect. I'm simply noticing what I enjoy doing right now. And if I make mistakes, I can learn from those mistakes. I can become better. But I'm not going to force myself to be better. To think that if I become better, more successful, better at communicating, writing, whatever it is, that I'll be happy. Finally, I can be at peace. But peace comes from within me. When I relax, when I don't take my thoughts so seriously, I relax right here, right now, there's peace. Because every experience is manufactured within you. That means no external thing can give you happiness. And you see this, people have billions and they're depressed. People have $100 in their bank account and they're at peace. People are in prison who are free mentally, and people who are free are in prison mentally. So it all happens inside, and if you're coming across this just now, you may rebel against this because your mind doesn't like what I'm saying. It wants to blame and point fingers. And sometimes I want to blame and point fingers, so I'm not perfect by any means. So a thought enters that doesn't accept who you are, or a thought enters my mind and says, okay, you need to be better at communicating. And I let it be. There's no push-pull. I don't assign meaning. I don't panic with that thought. It comes and I don't say, oh, you're right, Mr. Mind. I shall believe everything you say. So now I have to start studying communication. I have to learn. I have to really apply myself. No, there's just embracing the thought. And I may have an inclination, a pull toward that. Okay, sure, I do want to become better at this. I'm open to books and things that truly call to me. I'm open to that. So I'm not forcing myself to do something because I think I'll get somewhere or become better or more famous or successful, whatever. And when these thoughts come in, self-compassion for me includes all the judging as well. So I'm not judging my judging. There's a judging thought, and I can just let it be there. I can accept all of it. And when I say accept, I let it be there. I don't resist it. So acceptance to me again is, it's simply non-resistance. It's doing nothing. But when I say nothing, you probably imagine I'm doing that nothing, but it's something you have to experience. So in the end, it comes down to taking the judging seriously. Mr. Mind is judging you, and you take that seriously. You defend yourself. You try to improve yourself. You agree with Mr. Mind, and you feel worse and worse. It's like, imagine a parrot saying to you that you're a fool, you don't understand anything. It's obvious to you that the parrot learned those words, but it's not obvious to you that your mind is also very similar to the parrot. So I'll stop there. Hope you enjoyed this. If you liked the video, click all the buttons, and if you don't.